This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Views expressed by hosts, guests, or employees are their own and do not necessarily represent ATS or its affiliates. Mention of any company, product, or service is not an endorsement. While ATS and its sister companies share corporate ties, they operate independently. ATS is not responsible for the accuracy or content statements made. For questions, visit atsinc.com.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Road, the ATS podcast. I'm once again your host, Eric. Getting to the end of April, beginning of May here. What are we going to talk about this update? Kind of as we normally start off with the market industry kind of update. What are we hearing from shippers? What are we hearing from some of our customers, from drivers, etc.? And then we're going to get into kind of the meat of the information or podcast this week is project freight. With summer coming about, it tends to pick up. Big thing that our team does here at ATS Logistics is really digs into the retail / hospitality industry. And there's a big event coming up usually in the beginning of May in Las Vegas called HD Expo. Overall, I don't think it's a big thing in the transportation industry, but in the niche markets that we delve into, it's a huge thing, but more so just that project-based freight. So with that, I got a couple of great guests. 2 sales reps on my team. On Team Mezzo here at our corporate office, and 2 senior national sales reps. So definitely great people and great minds for this seat. If you guys want to just take a couple minutes, introduce yourselves, first name, title, and I guess brief description of what you do. Popcorn Brad.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Name's Brad Modaf. I've been here at ATS for about almost 6 years now, senior national sales rep.
As of like last week, 2 weeks ago.
As of last week, yes. 2 claps. So, yes, just been diving in with a huge amount of customers. And as we said, a lot of project-based that we'll talk about here shortly. But yeah, just excited to be able to be on here and chat about that stuff. Popcorn Chris.
And I am Chris Matuska, Senior National Sales Rep. I've been with ATS for about 7 years. I work a lot in the hospitality industry with a number of my customers with working with their project freight. So,
yeah, definitely. And yeah, we have a great team here, right? I mean, I knew you guys before I even started transportation, right? So I think we built a great team outside. You know, we talk a little bit. I mean, even way off topic is how to build a great team and utilizing your personal resources and your personal network, and taking belief. I think both when you guys came on board, people even asked me like, aren't you scared like to like bring in your friends to work for you? I'm like, why? Like, why would I bring in I know these guys can do the job. I mean, they're very good at building relationships and communication. It's like, oh, why wouldn't you do that? So I've had luckily it's all been downhill, uphill, I guess.
Uphill,
very good.
Yeah, knock on wood, right?
Yeah, there hasn't been any problems yet. No paperwork or anything. But I guess first things first, you know, like we always talk at the start of our podcast is just kind of a brief update on the industry. Like, what are we... current state of the trucking industry, I guess. You know, what are we hearing from shippers, our customers? What are we hearing from, you know, our operations team? What are they hearing from the drivers? Just kind of a brief couple minutes of kind of how things are going, because it seems like it's picking up. I mean, on my side, like we talked about, we had a huge ATS had a really big end of the first quarter. And it seemed like then even after that, then there was a little lull. Things I think overall across the board got a little slow. But it seems again the last week or so, middle of last week or whatnot, it's really started to pick up again.
Yeah, for sure. I think at the end of March, everyone's trying to get that end of month, end of quarter done, and just a big push to get everything out of their buildings, off their lots, to try to, get their stuff out to their customers, get it off of their books for the quarter. And then that first 2 weeks of April just kind of saw a little steady decline. But I think now that the weather has finally turned, we've gotten past the spring thaw in most of our northern states, things are starting to open up a little bit, especially construction-wise for us.
Chris wouldn't know much. He was in Mexico while we were doing all that.
That is also valid, true.
Yeah, we had to cover up for him too, even. So, but yeah, I think along with that, there's I think operationally we hear a little more difficulty with the the increase of freight with drivers drivers having a choice of where they're going more so than maybe recently or the past couple months, so that, if it's a tougher spot, Dakotas perhaps, or wherever reason, or for wherever, drivers are having that opportunity to maybe pick and choose where they want to go. So it can, knowing where you're going can be a little bit advantageous if you're a shipper or if you're kind of even a broker in the industry. Mm-hmm. Anything else? We got Blitz Week coming up, right? When's that? Chris?
May 13th through the 15th, DOT Blitz Week.
Yeah. Big thing in the industry, right? We did talk about it. We had a whole podcast on it, I think last month, or the last time I hosted. We had a couple of we had Chris and JP who have different roles within ATS, but prior to their life here, they were drivers and shared a lot of great information. So if you need to touch base on that, look at our past podcast, look at our learning hub out on atsinc.com. There's a lot of information. I think it's our number one viewed article out there in our learning hub. So I forgot, what are they checking on this year? Or they check on everything, but there are two main components.
Tires, for sure, is one of them, and logs.
E-logs, making sure that everything's up to date. Yep. So check that out if you need to. Again, out on atsinc.com and our learning hub. But yeah, I guess let's dig into the big thing of, like we talked about in the intro, project freight, and really the HD or Hospitality Design Expo, which is out in Las Vegas. When is it? Chris, do you have the dates?
It is. I didn't write it down. May 6th through the 8th.
Mandalay Bay, 6th through the 8th. Yeah. So what is it? What is Hospitality Design HD Expo?
HD Expo?
Yeah. What is it?
Hospitality Design
right.
Expo.
So
there's a lot of people and company coming in from like the hotel industry, right? It's designers, it's furniture manufacturers, it's all kinds of people in that industry that go check this show out, and it's one that we exhibit at.
Yeah, it's one time a year where the entire hospitality world. I mean, we've connected with people from England, different companies out there. There's two brothers that we met last year developed like the new skee ball game. I don't know if I can say skeech. Hopefully the brothers okay with that. The skeech game. And they talked about how they developed it playing on the beach with bocce balls, and they turned it into a board, like a new shuffleboard game or whatnot. But everything from that to procurement teams to designers, interior designers to huge. I mean, the largest of large hotel corporations, and a lot of times they wonder why a trucking company is there, right? Mm-hmm. I remember the first couple of years it was like, what's a trucking company doing here? And it's really us specializing in that project-based freight, right? There's a lot more needs that go into project-based freight and requirements and expertise as a transportation partner. So that's kind of why we go out there, why we continue to go out there. We develop, I think, every year in and year out, we make more and more stronger relationships. For those of you who are watching, they're going to be at their booth 5405. Right when you walk in, way east side of the Mandalay Convention Center. Swing by and pay us a visit. But yeah, so let's dig into like overall, again, project freight. Something we specialize in. Both of you guys do a fantastic job at it. I guess why is project-based freight different, and why do we succeed at it?
Sure, I'll jump in first. Well, just there's a lot of details, a lot of different phases that go on throughout, a project. You have, whether it's 2 phases or 20 phases, you don't want phase 3 showing up before phase 1, right?
Yes.
I mean, you want to make sure that you have everything all your ducks in a row, and that we're getting the right stuff there at the right time, because we have certain crews that are on site there for loading, for offloading, and et cetera. So we want to make sure that we have the scheduling down for them, for the crews. We want to make sure that we have whether it's a remodel, whether it's a hotel, whether it's something that's going on. We want to make sure that we're getting the right stuff there at the right time, for the right crew.
Like Brad said, for the whole scheduling, meeting crews and everything too. And like Eric and I tell people at HD Expo and we talk to them, what's different about the project freight. It's not like you're hauling the driver's hauling a load full of paper towels to a warehouse to deliver, between 9 and 5, at a dock. They're showing up on site at specific times to meet crews so they can offload the truck and then start installing all of this product into the hotels. And if a truck is late or any shipments are late, that can delay the entire project and put them behind schedule in, maybe their open date.
Right. Yeah. And anytime the longer that they're closed, the obviously less revenue that they're pulling in. Along with that, if you have a mix up or an issue with deliveries, they have crews that they're paying sitting around and not doing anything, which is the last thing you want to do and provide that service as a transportation partner. So I think, like you talked about, I think communication is a huge thing, that the pre-planning with, if you're a shipper in that industry or really any project freight, making sure you pre-plan with your transportation partner and so that they can set the expectations straight, what they need pickup, what they need for delivery, timing, etc. And then your transportation provider, hopefully ATS, can then work with their operations team and fleet managers and driver managers, to make sure that they have all the I's dotted and T's crossed to make sure that the project can succeed. So both of you recently have had we've had some projects come through our. Brad recently was a 300 plus truckload project.
Yep.
Chris, you had one just that wrapped up, I think, a couple weeks ago, like 70 truckload project of a consolidation in the hospitality side of the business. And I guess talk a little bit about that. What were some challenges that that you saw in those projects and what helped us succeed? Let's start off with you, Chris.
Well, for me, I know with my particular project that was going on, the customer was very leery about, handing all the business over to one partner. They wanted to break it up and didn't want to put all their eggs in one basket. So
why was that? Did they tell you why?
Just them being worried about, maybe ATS being able to handle the entire project and being able to keep up with everything that was going on. But, after further discussion and some articles that were shared with them, about why you just use one partner, it really opened their eyes up to, trusting us and then awarding us the entire project. Right.
And that is a piece of content out there. Like, should you use, or why should you use one logistics partner for your project? And it does say that. There is definitely a concern about, that's why the saying is there, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. But definitely in this situation, I think there were things that came up, right? Like there was an issue with spacing at the receiver, of where we had to pivot on a moment's notice within a couple minutes to reshift some trucks elsewhere, right?
Right. Yep.
And now what happens if that shipper decided, hey, instead of using one carrier, or one broker, I'm going to use 3 or 4 different brokers.
Yeah, that would have been kind of a nightmare for them to have to try to coordinate that with multiple different people. Having that one point of contact for your project is huge. It can alleviate a lot of stress for a shipper.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I suppose if you have if you have 8 trucks going into a destination and suddenly you have to pivot to make them go to a different location. That is one point of contact where that one individual gets a hold of their 8 trucks, and then they can coordinate to reschedule those timely, because I don't think any receiver that has a smaller crew or a smaller warehouse and wants 8 trucks showing up at the exact same time, because then that can create frustration for the drivers, right? Like, hey, I'm one of 8 sitting around at 8:00 in the morning. When am I going to get offload? I'm not going to know. Like, I don't know when I'm going to go get my reload. They've got their plans in place too, right? Excuse me. So, making sure, and that allowed ATS and allowed you and our operations team to pivot and then reschedule those on a timely manner, as opposed to if you've got 3 other people, and you could have, hey, my 2 trucks are going to show up at 8 and 10, and the other broker, my trucks are showing up at 8 and 10, and other broker, my trucks are showing up at 8, 9, and 10, and then it's chaos all around. It's certainly something that we want to alleviate as much as possible. So, and then let's go over Brad. I mean, anything else? I mean, what else? I guess there was a lot of success in that, right? I mean, customer was, initially they were hesitant. I guess the feedback afterwards was,
the feedback afterwards was great. Like they were super happy with the job we did, and that we got to show them what our capabilities are. Right.
And we talk about that too. There is a concern. I mean, some customers think 70 truckloads in a month is a lot. I mean, Brad, you had was it a little over a month? 300 truckloads.
Right, in 1 month, yeah.
So, I mean, ATI, I mean, it all depends on the scope and size of your partner that you work with. There are some benefits out there of working with a smaller broker, but there's some benefits of working out there. And I would think more benefits of working with a larger broker. But at the same time, I think ATS has that middle. We're pretty large, but we still have that one point of contact. And that's important regardless of who you work with. Or as your partner, if you have a question, are you emailing some inbox and not knowing who's going to respond to you? Or are you emailing, or are you calling, or are you emailing one individual and that person's your point of contact? So yeah, I mean, ATS wise, I mean, 70 loads isn't much for a month, even 300 loads. I mean, ATS overall, typically between assets and logistics moves over 40,000 loads across North America, on a monthly basis. So we talk a little bit about the issues, if there were, I don't know if there were any, but how did you talk about pre-planning. How did you work with your customer on a 300 truckload project in the span of a month? Because what ended up pre-planning with that?
Well, the nice thing is pre-planning and being the one point of contact kind of go mesh in together, right? Because we were able to get onto a Teams meeting together where it was the project manager, we had the shipper that was on there, we had the receiver on there, and as well as the crane operator as well. So we were all able to get together kind of in our own Teams meeting war room and kind of just discuss what does this look like? Like each of us had a turn, just like discussing and bouncing ideas back and forth. Like, hey, what do you think of this? Can we get this many trucks in a day? Can we receive that many trucks in a day, whether it's shipping or receiving? And like what can each site handle? So being the one point of contact, we didn't have to have, again, 50 people in there.
Right.
We had 5 or 6 of us, and each of us in our own regard, to which industry or wherever we were working with in regards to that project. We were able to kind of put our minds together. And then at the same point, if the shipper had a problem, he didn't have to reach out to 5, 6, 7, 8 different carriers. He had to make one phone call. He had to just call me. Same thing with the receiver. If there was a problem or if there was rain or wind and the crane had to shut down, he had to call one person. He didn't have to, and that's some of the issues that we ran into was that, this one of the projects was going into Washington, D.C., heavy traffic. They get weather there as well. This was the end of February, early March.
Okay, yep.
And so, we had to shut down for a day just because of events going on. Or all of a sudden it's the marathon's happening this weekend. We need to pivot. Like you said, there's things happening. Like we pre-planned this a month ahead of time, but looking back, they're like, hey, we missed this on the overall calendar. There's a marathon being run down Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. So we got to pivot. We need to move. We can't have these 6 trucks come in today.
Yeah.
We need to push them to come in Monday. So just, again, you're not going to solve all the world's problems in that pre-planning session, but you'll be able to at least get the ideas out there, ask the questions you're able to do, that you want to ask or get them answered by the particular person. And then obviously that one point of contact where, hey, you can call me anytime. And, that's the great point is that, we're reachable. And you don't have to go through a gatekeeper. You can go right to us. You get us when you dial the phone, and then we help solve the problem.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we would love everybody listening or everybody that ships project freight, obviously to work with ATS and us, just making sure, even if it's not us, but just making sure, again, those are the things you want to look for in a partner on the brokerage logistics side, or even an asset carrier, is just that the communication style of what you need as a shipper, what you need as a customer that's shipping the freight, and what are the service offerings that your partner offers. Again, ATS, we've got our asset division. We can partner well with our logistics team. We have our international team. All those, we're warehousing. So like regardless of almost any of the service offerings that you can have in transportation, there's that one point of contact, regardless if it's in a warehouse, if it's going LTL, if it's about to hop on a boat in a port. Like there's that one point of contact. So making sure that can help you as a shipper be a little stress or concern when something does arise and there are issues, like who do I need to call for this particular situation. But going back to it, Brad, you're talking about even with the driver's standpoint, right? Like making sure that if you're a driver and you work with brokers, work with the ones that partner yourself with a broker or brokers that I feel we do a very good job of those partnering with our brokers, our broker carriers, I guess, to make sure that we can set them up for success too, right? Like if there is an issue and they have to break for a change, making sure that, hey, we have those discussions with our customers, hey, drivers, time is money for drivers. If they're not driving, they're not making money, right? So if they got to sit, making sure that they can be compensated for their time of sitting. A big one, talking about HD Expo or any trade shows. I mean, we're big in the trade show industry, right? We move a lot of trade show freight too. As a driver, just making sure, understanding the marshaling yard times. That's kind of odd and probably people don't understand. But I mean, what's you talk about trade shows and marshaling yard. What's a marshaling yard? Want to take that?
Yeah, marshaling yard is where the setup all begins, really. I mean, that's where the trucks all have to go and essentially wait until they get permission that they can come into the dock and get offloaded.
Because the volume, right?
Because of the volume, right? You can't have 300 trucks show up to 10 docks at one time. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it could, but it'd be chaos,
could.
right? There's
right.
Again, there's going to be upset drivers. There's going to be upset trade show or convention center workers.
I think the dock crew would walk away.
Yeah.
They forget
not enough forklifts to offload
right.
all those trucks. I mean, you look at HD Expo and it's just all across Mandalay Bay Convention Center, and it's
insane.
Booth after booth, 100,000 square feet, or I don't know. I guess that's just a number I pull out the top of my head. I should have looked at that, but you can't have those trucks show up. So the marshaling yard is even delivery. You have to show up a day or two in advance. More than that, you have your slotted day. You have to show up.
Yep.
And they want you there usually right away at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and you really sit there until your booth number, the booth number you're delivering is called, and you can go get offloaded, right? So, as a driver, just making sure, like, hey, what if this is a trade show? I mean, there's a lot of negative connotations, I think, when drivers see trade show freight, which there is again, can be some sitting time, and there's a lot of unknown, and understanding in the driver's world, like, the less unknown there is, the better off there is, right? But on the other side, it's kind of a nature of the business. Is when you deal with project freight or you deal with trade show freight, that you could be sitting a while. So making sure that you're asking, like, what's the expected wait time in the rate? Like, how much is that wait time? As we know, a majority of detention, sitting around 2 hours is typically what's included in the rate. But there's a lot of times on our trade show stuff, we'll factor probably some more time in there depending upon our experience with that trade show. So, making sure, hey, what's in the rate for my detention for sitting at this trade show? Is it 2 hours, is it 4 hours, is it 8 hours, whatever it may be. And then vice versa on the receiving end, right? Same thing happens where they got to show up at who knows when and sit around until your booth is called to come pick it up, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what can, we talked a little bit, Brad, what shippers can do for success on project-based freight. I guess anything else? We talked about pre-plan. We talked about kind of communication.
Communication's huge. I was going to say the line of communication is just huge. Whether it's a small little thing that could, that could eventually blow up into something else. Just communicating every detail over as best as possible. And that's what makes the projects run as smooth as possible, right? I mean, that's just keeping that open line, again, to whether it's the shipper, the receiver, because like we've talked about, right? The crews, there are crews there. They don't want to sit around and pay these guys to sit there for 4 hours because there was a snafu somewhere, right?
I mean, and if you do run into delays, which
it can
we
happen.
all have had happen before, right?
Yeah.
That quick communication to, say, the receiver and then their crew that's sitting on site saying, hey, our truck is going to be an hour late for whatever reason it may be. And if you can let them know that right away, they can say, I've had it happen where they say, all right, great, appreciate the phone call.
Yeah.
We have other stuff we can do right now while we're waiting for that truck.
Right.
So we're not just sitting around waiting. Where if they didn't have that communication to them right away, they could spend all that time just sitting around waiting, not knowing, well, where's our truck?
Right.
And then, they knew something was going to be delayed, so they could go take care of some other things.
Right. And even when things arise where you don't know, right? Even there's like I think there's a huge positive of like proactive communication, even like hey, here's what's going on. We're not quite sure. We don't have a resolution yet. Right. But again, hey, here's the situation. Our driver called in. He's has an issue with his trailer or his brake lines. He's going into the shop. We're waiting. He's telling us, they should get him in an hour and they'll diagnose it. Like just that communication, proactive. Even if we don't have a set resolution, we can't say he's going to be there in a couple hours. Like, but again, I think people people appreciate that type of communication.
Yeah. But it's even communicating, it doesn't have to be a negative thing that you're communicating. It'd be like, hey, we crushed it today. We got those trucks. They're all loaded. They're on the road. Just giving them any type of feedback, just a positive communication, just like, hey, I'm just giving you an update what's going on. And just, that way again, puts the customer at ease, right? Puts their mind at ease. Like, hey, things are rolling. Things are doing well. And so it's not just like you're not only reaching out with communication about, hey, we might have a delay, but it's also at the same point giving them the positive notes about how the project's rolling too. Hey, your shipper's crushing it right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're getting trucks out of there left and right. Oh man, the crew, they offloaded phenomenal. The drivers were so appreciative because they could get to their next load. So even just relaying that, because then that looks good for them too. So I mean, it's good just to communicate, good or bad.
Yeah. I think it's just a big thing. There's across the transportation industry between the trucking company or a broker and a shipper and a receiver and a driver, all that stuff. I mean, it's a definite team, and from both sides of the driver's side and the customer side. I mean, we all want to work together to make sure everybody succeeds, and and that just starts with communication. I think that also starts with just having each other understand the other's viewpoint, right? And I think that's what this podcast can help with as we talk about, hey, if you're a shipper, here's some things to take account of. But if you're a driver, here's what the shipper should take account for. But then if you're a driver, here's what to think of. But then also if you're a shipper, you got to think about those drivers, right? Like having your crews ready. If you say we're gonna have a crew there at 8:00, make sure that they're ready to go at 8:00 because those drivers. Again, they pre-plan their freight. They pre-plan. There's not a lot of times where like, hey, I just got offloaded and I'm going to find my next load today, right? They're offloading at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and they've planned on a 2-hour offload, and they're going to go load it at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon so they can get back on the road. And so having that in mind obviously can greatly help a driver to make sure that they're on the road, and that's how they succeed. That's how they pay their bills. And so we want to make sure within, even ATS Logistics that we're doing everything we can to bring the two together to make sure both our customers and the shippers and our drivers succeed. So I guess anything wrapping up on the industry, anything wrapping up that we maybe missed on on project-based freight. Anything about HD Expo, booth 5405. Come see us. We have new socks this year.
Oh man.
It is kind of weird. We started off a couple years ago, and there was some like leftover ATS socks. They were like blue and I think we all got a pair, right? Red and light blue and dark blue, like Argyle, whatever.
Yep.
And I tell you what, like, who knew hospitality people at that show loved socks so much? We ran out. I think we have some more now, but then we got some new styles. So make sure you stop by the booth, and maybe you can get a new pair of red or green colored socks with some floral designs on them this year. So come see us.
I think if you arm wrestle Chris, if you win, you get a green pair. If you lose, you get a red pair. Is that how it goes? Or?
So are we going to get more green pair then? Brad, we only have so many green pairs of socks. But yeah, I think that just, anything to wrap up? No.
No, I think we covered.
Chris, it wasn't that bad, was it? I mean,
we covered quite a bit of it.
Just chatting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no, appreciate you guys taking some time talk about this. Project freight's huge, especially getting into the summer months. Not, I actually Jaden on my team and I were on a Teams call earlier today, and the customer even mentioned that we're like they're busier in the summer because she said down there in the States, you guys it's just warmer. And so like their freight picks up, and just like if it's hospitality, if it's construction, whatever it is, there's just more stuff going on. There's more road construction, there's more projects going on. There's more summertime, there's more cars on the road, so drivers have to deal with that. There's just more happening that just making sure that you're partnering with the right provider for your project freight and have that open communication. So yeah, appreciate you guys taking your time, talk about that a little bit. Excited for heading out to Vegas in a couple weeks. Brad, sorry that you cannot be there this year. We'll try again next year for sure. Unless Chris loses too many arm wrestling matches.
Yeah, then we'll have to sub you out.
I'll have to get subbed
I'll start
out.
practicing.
So appreciate your time, guys. Appreciate you guys, all you listeners joining in. Be sure to check out the rest of the ATS YouTube channel for content made just for you. If you're a shipper, you can find, we talked about the ATS Learning Hub. I think it's atsinc.com, and up on top, it's Learning Hub. You bring it all to the content that we do have from Project Freight. Why use one provider? And there's a lot of project-based content out there. I think when I was there earlier today, I just typed in, I think, project, and there was 7 or 8 different articles and podcasts or videos, that to discuss kind of project-based freight. Drivers, check out your YouTube channel, which is Over the Road through ATS. Also, you can find more information on the Learning Center at Drive, the number 4, so drive4ats.com. And then also, if you're interested in a new career in the exciting transportation world, you can find our job openings at ATS. The address is atsinc.com/careers. So a lot of information. Check that out. Leave your comments. Love to hear what your thoughts are. If shippers out there, drivers out there, how can we continue to help you succeed? And just thanks for joining us today, and be safe out there. See you next month with Justin.